Let's talk about three important tips in annual worth analysis. First of all, we know that there's a direct relationship between present worth of cost or benefit and the equivalent uniform annual cost or benefit. Essentially, a way of converting P, present worth, to A, annual worth, either for benefit or for the cost. So the idea is, if you think finding the annual worth is more challenging, what you can do is just calculate the present worth and then using A given P factor, change it to A. And that will be the last step of the calculations. And another tip is when you're dealing with irregular cash flows over some analysis period, a lot of times calculating annual worth or A directly from those irregular cash flows is difficult. What you can do is calculate the present worth first and then convert it to annual worth using A given P factor. So basically taking advantage of that relationship between A and P for irregular cash flows. Also, when there is an arithmetic gradient series, you might have not noticed that in the factors table, but there is a factor which is A given G. And that really helps you with a little shortcut that prevents you from calculating present worth first and then calculating annual worth using A given P. What you can do is you can directly convert the pure gradient series to a uniform series using A given G factor. So these are three tips that will be useful when you're calculating annual worth. Let's take a look at one example here. Here it says that maintenance costs of a generator have been recorded over its 5-year life. Compute the generator's equivalent uniform annual cost, assuming 7% interest and end-of-year cash flows. So what we have here is all costs for each year. And if you draw that cash flow, you can see that it's a arithmetic gradient cash flow. So in order to calculate the equivalent uniform annual cost, you need to decompose that cash flow to a uniform cash flow plus a pure gradient cash flow. And once you do that, the equivalent uniform annual cost is 545, which is the uniform cash flow, plus 45, which is the amount of gradient, times A given G. Same idea that we just talked about. And that will give you 629, meaning that this cash flow is equivalent to a uniform cash flow at 629 over the same period, 5 years.